Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to Little T Play Stationeers. I'm Little T, this is Stationeers, and we're about to get into episode 6, Cool Under Pressure, right? So at the end of the last episode, we kind of set up the infrastructure, I guess, to start regulating the pressure in our base. But one thing that is becoming more important by the day, or by the lunar day, is this temperature problem that we're having, right? So, like, if you remember from I think it was like episode 4, when we first put air into this space here, the temperature was around about 20 degrees, right? Like 18, 19 degrees. It might even a bit lower, but it was lower, right? That's the point. So we're having an issue here because now the temperature is approaching a point where it's going to be too hot for both me and my food, right? So we're going to kind of put on hold for a moment our atmospheric work, and we're going to work on putting in a cooling system, right? And for that, we're going to need wall coolers and some passive vents, right? So for each wall cooler, you need some pipes, you need one or more passive vents. We're just going to use one. And of course you need the wall cooler, right? And all of these pieces of equipment can be found in the hydraulic pipe bender, which has become kind of our best friend in the last episode. So let's just print out one more of these passive vents, add it to that stack. Let's find the wall coolers. Okay. And we need some copper and some gold, right, which we have in this machine. So let's just grab those, put them in there. And we're going to use 2 wall coolers and 2 wall heaters, okay? So the wall coolers, as I said, right, need pipes and passive vents. The wall heaters just, kind of like an electric heater that you might have at home, right? So, you stick them on the wall, they heat up some filaments and, heat up the room that they're in, right? Now, for this series, we're not going to focus at all on automation of this system. Although, just like the solar panels, once you do automate the system, it's kind of a fire and forget. You set it up, you give it a temperature threshold, and you kind of never really need, unless there's some kind of emergency that occurs in your base, right? Like you never really need to go back and look at them again, right? But I think, to be honest, like the way things are going, we're looking at this, maybe the next episode being the last in this series. Because, this whole series was never really intended to be a kind of highly detailed tutorial, right? Just more like a kind of a soft guide on how to set up a basic don't die setup, so that you can then use this as a base to go on ahead and build some bigger and better things, right? So we're going to put one wall cooler here. I'm going to stick one wall cooler here. Wall heater, right? So that they're heating different parts of the room. We're going to go ahead and stick, that will give us some more atmosphere and probably cool down the temperature here a little bit. But, Okay, so I mean that is, you know, if you need a kind of um, what's the word, a an emergency measure, right? You can kind of like use oxide to cool the room down. But I wouldn't advise it because, you know, like I said before, you can't really control the pressure that it releases, and you know how far the temperature goes down, and all those things, right? So we kind of want to, as much as possible, maintain kind of control over what is going on, right? So with these wall coolers, they have power, data, input, output, um, just like the wall heaters, right? But what's different about them is that they have a pipe connection, right? And that's what we're going to use to send the air from the wall cooler to to be honest with you, I've never been sure if these pull or push, right? But either way, air goes through this pipe. It's going to come out over the top here of this roof. We're going to attach some radiators to those pipes to radiate the excess heat out. And then we're going to add, on this side of the room, we're going to add a passive vent, which is going to be where the air either goes in or comes out, right? But either way, it circulates, right? So we'll do it like that. And I think we can kind of, now the way we've got this, okay, so we can do this here, right? So we'll add the making sure that we leave space for the power connector for the wall heater. We'll add our passive vent here and our second wall cooler on this side, right? So that the wall coolers, just like the wall heaters, are cooling different areas of our room here, right? You don't have to do it so far. You know, we could just have like a little set of pipes out here, you know, but I like to do it this way. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so we have pipes. Wonder how we can color these pipes here, because I don't think blue is an adequate color for. Well, you know what? It's a cooling system, right? But the only thing is, I don't want to get these pipes confused with water pipes. So we are going to opt for, you know, the more traditional yellow. And actually, you know, thinking about it, I don't really need the yellow paint because once I start building pipes here, you know, they're going to come out yellow, right? I'll grab them and then I'll just add this blue stack to this yellow stack to make the pipes yellow again, right? So okay, we'll print out a few here. We're going to need quite a few pipes for this this setup. We're running out of iron here, so let me just go ahead and see if we can connect these 14 pipes here to the wall coolers at the back. All right, so these are going to need to kind of come out a little bit. I'm opting to put them at the back here instead of like at the top, just so that we can't see the radiators from inside the base here, right? Okay, I think this should be enough for this one cooler. Perfect. It's like just not enough. All right. So okay, I'm gonna pause the recording here. Go grab some iron. Okay, so we grabbed quite a bit of iron there, quite a bit of copper. Um, Saw some gold, but I think we're kind of okay for gold for now. One thing I did do was just quickly grab like a couple of small bits of oxide and volatiles because now that we have um, a way to capture gases, I think we're gonna be kind of using the furnace more than the arc furnace to smelt our ores here, right? It is worth noting that when the arc furnaces do their work, um, apart from being able to automate um, their smelting, which we'll come to in probably the next series, they do emit gases, right? So um, be careful where you put them inside your base because if we were to put this arc furnace inside there um, and start using it, it would produce the same gases that are produced when you put things into um, the arc furnace here, the gas furnace here, right? And I'll kind of show you what I mean in a second with the gases, right? So we're gonna close this this valve, so that no gas escapes, right? We're gonna do what we did before, right? We're gonna put in our. It doesn't really matter what order you put them in. We're gonna put in our oxide there. Click to activate it until the door opens, right? Like keep clicking. Then we're gonna put in our volatiles, and we're gonna do the same, right? And now the pressure's gone right up. And what we're gonna do, I think, is just leave this open, right? And we're just gonna put in our ores like this, right? And as soon as they're done, they'll just pop out the other side there, right? Now we need iron, right? So let's just grab that iron, and I do need to eat really soon, or I will die, and that's not cool, right? Because when you die, as I said, right, on Stationeer difficulty level, when you die, you come back with nothing, right? I mean, it would kind of be okay here because I would die next to this gas furnace, and I would probably, because we started building relatively close to where we initially spawned, I could probably make a mad dash to what do you call it, to grab my stuff, and loot my own corpse, right? But I prefer not to have to go through that, right? So you can see, right, we're like smelting now really, really quickly, and that's super amazing, right? Okay, now you see it came out here without processing, right? And that is because we have reached a temperature at which iron is no longer processed um, into an ingot, right? So again, on the wiki, that there are uh, guides, right, to tell you the temperature ranges and the pressure ranges that are required for smelting each of the ores and creating each of the alloys that are required. Okay, so we have like a bunch of materials here now. We still have quite a lot of gold, so we needed like some radiators. I did find a couple of pipes, so that pipe that we left open is now attached. So okay, very quickly, there are these insulated pipes. So like pipes will go out into a room or an atmosphere. You know, if you take it outside, and they will be affected by the external temperature, right? These insulated pipes will maintain the initial temperature of the gas that you put in them, right? And there's similarly there are tanks and insulated tanks, you know, which can store gases at the ambient temperature of the room or the temperature of the gas when it initially entered the pipe network, right? So that's something worth thinking about. So we needed radiators, right? We also need more pipes, but let's get this one bunch of radiators going first, and we needed steel for that, right? So we're going to need to pull the steel out of here, but first it is imperative that we get inside here and eat, because my health is at 5%. So I've taken as much time as I can without eating, and you know it's starting to become really important that we do something about the temperature in here, because it's getting quite hot, right? So we're gonna eat 2, plant 1, right? With the potatoes, we'll do the same, right? And that should put us at 100%, near enough. And I think we're going to start needing either to get rid of some of these ferns, or you know, start building a like a storage cabinet here, like a locker, to start storing some of this food. So just so that, you know, when we're out doing things, that we have some food with us. I'm just gonna, you know, harvest some of these and put them in my bag so that there is food for our journeys, right? Now, interestingly, the cereal bar cannot be eaten with our helmets closed, but as you've just seen, our corn, our pieces of food here can be eaten without opening our helmet. So again, another oversight there by the devs. I'm sure they'll fix that. But interesting to be aware of, right? So okay, we were going to connect up our cooler here. So we'll need some cables, and we'll need those radiators. So we had, I think it was like 14 pipes. So I think 5 to 7 radiators should be enough. Let's just grab that. Because I like to space my radiators out. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know, how close together they are, but it does matter how many you have, right? Because you know, they radiate heat out at a constant rate, depending on the ambient temperature that they are radiating into. And the more you have, the quicker they radiate the heat out, right? So, you know, we'll just build 7, I think. Although we are going to need, I tell you what, we'll build 10, because we're going to need more for the other cooler. But I think we might just set up the one cooler for now and see how it does. You know, and if we need the second cooler, then we will do that. I tell you what, let's get these cable coils going first. You know, so that they're kind of done by the time we get back over here. And yep, okay. We don't need any more pipes, so we'll connect up here these radiators. Okay, now you can put them anywhere, but you want them to be kind of oriented, you know, to face away from your base. But you know, in the end, it doesn't really matter. It just looks better like this, right? And they need to be placed like over the pipe, right? So you know, you could place it here, but you know, it's not connected to the pipe, so it's not going to radiate anything, right? So okay, and all right. So I mean that's kind of okay for now, I think. We'll see if we can connect them up. Do you know what? I think we're gonna drop these kind of here, so that they're kind of there, ready and waiting for us when we come to connect up this this cooler here, right? Okay. Wow. I love how they do that. So okay. We have like a bunch of cables now, and I think we're going to need more. I mean, if there's anything that you need like a bunch of all the time, it's cables and pipes, right? So, okay. So let's do a couple of things here, right? Let's, first of all, we have our heater is in there, right? If I remember rightly, our heater is in there. So we are going to use this cable connection here. Now remember, you can't go through pipes unless you cross them, right? You see here I'm pressing C and it's only allowing me to go like vertically or horizontally through them, right? So I can't, you know, can't place pipes here. And if it's a corner, you can do that, right? But it's not going to let me do, you know, a corner that goes into the pipe, right? So we're going to lay it out like that. Yep. Okay. Do you know, I don't think I stopped the cable coils printing there, so I think after I like just connect this little corner up here, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Yep. Oh, there they go, flying around. Okay, so let's pick these up, and we really kind of need to do this, you know, pretty quickly, right? Because you know, as we can probably actually see here, right? It's too hot now for corn, and I think our corn has died, unless I made some kind of a mistake and I forgot to plant the corn. You can tell me. You know, it's getting kind of toasty in there, right? So our plants are gonna stop loving us, and start asking us for mercy, right? You know, it's from being a paradise for plants, it's slowly turning into kind of a torture chamber for them, right? So I'll tell you what also we'll do is, because we know that we're going to put a pressure regulator in that gap here, we'll just have an entry point there for the electricity, and that that should be fine. That should be it. So let's go in and start cooling down this room. And lucky for us, we still have some corn that we can plant. Um, there is an organics printer, so that you can print out different seeds, right? But it's it takes a long time, and we're not going to use it. I kind of think of it as kind of cheating, right? I mean, if you're going to play on anything other than easy difficulty level, I feel like a cheat when I use it. There are occasions when I have, but I feel I feel dirty, right, when I use it. So there we go. Could be just me, but whatever. So all right, we're just going to turn this on now. You notice it kind of flashes a little warning before it goes on. But 33 degrees, right? So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's replant our corn. Okay. Yeah, let's replant our corn. So now we have a way to cool our room here. We're just going to leave that going for a bit. We'll come back and check on it every once in a while to make sure that it doesn't ultra cool the room. But that should keep everything kind of stable for a while here. And we're kind of getting to a point here where we do need to start checking our power consumption versus our ability to generate power. And like these solar panels, the system we have here is not perfect, right? It's not going to give you 100% efficiency all the time. But like I say, right, for a kind of basic don't die setup, we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for functional and life-saving, right? So, if you want to get into more technical setup, I'll be going through that kind of in the next series, I guess. I plan to do several, right? As I think I said at the beginning of the first episode, I plan to do a few, and each one will kind of focus on being, more and more technical as we go along, right? With the final series, I guess, being the final series, later series, being just a little bit more complex, right, than the setups we have here. Okay, so now that we have a way to cool the base, let's go ahead and connect up our way to heat the base, so that should we come back and the temperature has dropped so low that it's going to take 7 or 8 lunar days to warm up our base again. We can kind of help it along, right? So yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. So there's our temperature control, and like I say, right, at the moment it's manual. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. And I said before that this was ugly, and we were gonna cover it over with cool stuff, right? Another good reason for not doubling your walls up immediately is so that you can see where you are placing cables and things, right? Until you're satisfied with it, and then you can cover them up with the walls that you want to put there, right? But like at the moment, we can work in this space, and then cover up the walls kind of later, right? Okay. So next we need now that we have a way to heat and cool, let's look at this pressure regulator here. And let's look at feeding nitrogen and oxygen into our base and regulating the pressure inside that room. Okay, and again, this is going to be a very basic setup. It's not going to be super complicated. So we're going to use a pressure regulator. We're going to need 2 of those. Because one, we're going to regulate the pressure going into the water pipes, right? So that we have a store of water and water in the network where the where the plants are, right? Yeah. Okay. So we had some iron here, right? So let's just set that up here to smell, right? Oh, and okay, like before we completely forget here, right? So we still have some gas in this furnace here. So we're gonna start doing our first gas transfer, right? So you'll see here that I have X, which is like pollutants. Think of it as like chlorine, right? We have CO2, N2, O2, and H2. Okay, so we are going to look at this pipe network here, right? At the moment there is nothing in there. Okay, and if you remember, there was nothing in our tanks, right? The portable tanks that we have in the room there, right? So let's put this away. This here, this here. We're gonna need 1 pressure regulator. 2 pressure regulators, sorry, and we're gonna need a gas mixer, right? So we're gonna need a gas mixer, which is going to mix our nitrogen and our oxygen so that it becomes a kind of breathable atmosphere here, right? So sure we have, is that a gas mixer? I built another one. Well, okay, we have a second gas mixer, right? Okay, so we're gonna do 2 things here. We're going to have a look. Right, so this gas mixer I think is gonna go yeah. Okay. So okay, so we're not going to have any kind of emergency setups, or it's just going to be a straight up basic pressure regulation system, okay, with no like redundancies, no backups, no nothing, right? And as you see, right, like the temperature now is down to 23 degrees, so we're just going to turn this off before the plants start complaining that it's too cold, right? So yeah, I mean, they'll tell you that they're wilting, right? But once they get some sun again in the morning, they should be fine, right? So let's put this pressure regulator down here, right? So we want a pressure regulator in this location here. There's a back pressure regulator and a pressure regulator. So we'll come to the difference in a moment. But essentially, with the pressure regulator, they will try to maintain whatever pressure you set on this this dial here. We're going to try to maintain it at, say, 4 kPa, or maybe less, right? Let's do 2,500. Okay. So everything that is, you know, as this arrow kind of indicates, right? They will stop pressure that is more than 2,500 kPa in this case, coming through this this block here, right? So everything now beyond this pressure regulator will attempt to be maintained at 2,500, right? So once this reaches 2,500, this will then say to all the gas that is behind, or in this case the water that is behind this regulator, you know, your name isn't down, so you're not coming in, right? So a highly useful piece of equipment. And what we're going to do over here, or do you know what? It kind of doesn't matter where we put it. So we're going to put it here. This is going to be a back pressure regulator. Okay, and what this is going to do is we're going to have here, if I can ever lay it down. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to have we're going to attach it maybe here or here. Okay, so this is we put down a pressure regulator, not a back pressure regulator. That was clever. Okay, so we want it to be a back pressure regulator, right? And we're going to set it to with one click to, well, okay, we're going to set it to 100, holding down the C key, and we're going to set it to 101 kPa. Well, let's set it to 102, just because, you know, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a little pipe here, corner pipe, put down a passive vent, and this back pressure regulator is going to maintain this space at 102 kilopascals, right? So once the pressure in this room goes to above 102 kilopascals, it's going to start allowing gas to go through the other side, right? So you'll kind of see why that's useful shortly, but essentially what it's going to do is maintain the pressure inside this this space here, right? And then we're going to put our gas mixer. Yeah, okay. This is going to be a little bit more complicated. So we are going to use our gas mixer here to mix the nitrogen and the oxygen. And where is that gonna? Okay, I think we're gonna put it in the ceiling here. I think that's probably the most. Okay. Yeah. So if we put it like, can't put it there because that's where the let's put it here, right? So okay, let's just put that down. So we have the output, which is going to feed into a passive vent, and we have input 1 and input 2, which we'll see more clearly from outside, right? And essentially what they do is they mix two types of gas together at a specific ratio, right? And what we kind of want is that input 1 is 79% and input 2 is 21% because input 1 is going to be nitrogen and input 2 is going to be oxygen. Okay. Now initially, because we'll have way more oxygen than we will have nitrogen, they're not going to start putting that much gas in. But because we are going to connect the back pressure regulator that we put in there to this pipe, right, it's going to slowly filter the excess oxygen out of the air without depleting the overall pressure in the room, right? So I hope that is kind of clear. Now, if I remember, we said input 2 was oxygen, right? And input 1 was nitrogen. So let's go grab some pipes here. How about we turn that on? Let's grab this white paint, because we're going to paint our stuff here. That was the blue. Okay, that's our green paint. Okay, all right. Now I forgot actually to have a look at the tanks while we were in there. So. But just take my word for it that they are empty, right? There is no gas going into those pipes, those tanks. So we're gonna connect this up, and then we'll kind of look at the tanks there, right? Yeah. Okay. I think that should be kind of enough. We have cables, we need more of those too. Okay, so let's just grab that. Let's grab these cables. We need copper and gold again. So let's grab that out of this machine, right? There's an awful lot of this like swapping around that goes on. But it's, if you really want to not have to bother with that, then, you could always just go out and mine a whole bunch and then put them into the machines to sequentially, so that they have what they need, right? So we'll just leave that machine there printing out. We're going to put our pipes here. But we know now that we've put the nitrogen into input 1 and we're putting our oxygen into input 2. Right? So even if it's wrong inside, we can kind of change that, right? Now these regulators and gas mixers and all these things, they need you to put a pipe between them and, say, an active or a passive vent, or even a valve or the next regulator, right? So they need to have like a pipe coming out, right? So that's very important. We had our back pressure regulator. Where was that placed? Was that just under there? So I think that's here. Well, we'll see. We'll do it from the inside, I guess. Oh, that's probably way too many. So okay, have these printed out. Let's get going with our connections here. So okay, we need to connect up our gas mixer here. We'll probably be able to just do it down this way, right? Okay, and you know what? I think we'll just leave a little connection here so that we can put in maybe a light in the middle of that room. because light is cool, right? Okay, and I think we're just going to go straight down here and connect to this cable network. Okay, now you see our battery here is not coping so well. You know, so if we had like a slightly more efficient solar setup, you know, we might be getting away with putting all this stuff in here. So I think it might be time to just turn this on and see if we can just fill out this battery for a bit here. Now, if you remember, it took us 15 coal to go from 1 red to full blue. And we had 35 left of that one piece of coal. So let's see if, as it charges here, we can turn it off and still have enough coal to charge the battery one time, right? You know, I get kind of obsessive about the power when it comes to a complicated base. I like my batteries to be fully charged at all times, which it creates unnecessary work. Really, you just need to be worried about your batteries lasting the night, right? I mean, that's really the mark of whether or not your power supply system is good or not, right? If at any point your batteries do not last a night, then you know you have some improvement to be doing. So okay, so we've put in our gas mixer here. Let's keep these for a second because the light is kind of secondary. Right, so let's go in here and connect up our back pressure regulator. And while we're here, we will remember now to have a look at the well, that's interesting. We have some X in here. Well, I hope, you know, once we reach the right pressure, that will slowly get filtered out. Right. So here we go. Right. So these tanks have no gas inside, right? So just remember that for what we're about to look at here. Okay, temperature now is lower than we want it to be, right? And that is probably because the atmosphere has gone into these passive vents, right? So even without the wall cooler, you could just do passive cooling, right, where you open out a section of your base there, right? Because you know, some of the air from in here has now gone into those pipes, right? So we're going to need to start using the wall heater here. Otherwise, the plants are going to complain about being too cold, right? You see they're wilting now, so that's not cool, right? That's really not cool, right? So we're gonna have to think about how many radiators are efficient for what we need to be doing, right? So yeah, you know, but the point is, we managed to get the temperature down from like 40 degrees to something a little bit more manageable, right? So okay, let's connect up this heater, because now we are seeing that it is kind of important that we heat up the room for the purposes of the plants, right? They're wilting because the temperature is too low, right? That is what is happening. So although, you know, I can survive, my plants cannot, right? So we'll just quickly heat up the room then we need to build our um, two pipe networks, right? So we need a pipes coming out of here to connect to the, I'm going to call it the waste pipe, right? Which is what feeds back into the filtration system. And then we're just going to need something here that will allow this back pressure generator to suck in the excess pressure and pump it out the other side, right? So okay, let's okay, so we're gonna need 2 more cables. Those pipes that are outside, it's really clever to have left them out there. And you know what? I think we might actually manage to complete this whole process within the allotted time, right? So we should be able to do this within the hour that I set myself. If I think it's going to go over like a couple of minutes, I will do that. You know, as I always have. But I think we should be okay. So we've got our pipes. I think those are enough pipes. We needed 2 cables, right? For that back pressure regulator. Yep. Okay. And it looks to me, yeah, we have. So okay, so we used like 10 coal, right, for that that last one. So we're doing pretty well, I think, for like power, you know, stuff. So okay, so we're gonna need, yeah, probably a few more pipes here to connect that pressure regulator, sorry, the back pressure regulator to the waste network, right? Because we don't want to vent the air out into space. We just want to change the composition of the atmosphere here, right? Anything, of course, that is not oxygen, nitrogen, or water is going to be vented out into space, right? Because that's the setup that we've made here. So you know those pollutants, that X that we saw before, is gonna end up being vented, right? And that's cool because we don't want pollutants in our atmosphere, right? Okay. So all right, you'll see now, right, that these plants are looking healthier because the temperature has gone up. You know, and that's one of the things, right? Like if we had an automation system set up for the temperature, you know, it's not too complicated to set up, but you know, again, it's not really in the scope of this this series, right? So we're just not going to look at it for now, right? I may end up doing like a separate tutorial for it. As well as going into it in depth in probably now the second series. But you know, for now, let's stick with our basic setup, right? Okay, so I think everything in here is set up, right? So input 1 was nitrogen and input 2 was oxygen. Okay, so what is going to happen with this gas mixer is that it's going to let's just call it 80-20, right? So for every 4 nitrogen moles, right? Right. So it's basically just going to let oxygen and nitrogen in at a 4-to-1 ratio, right? Percentage, right? So 80% of the gas that comes through this gas mixer is going to be nitrogen, and 20% is going to be oxygen. You know, that's not going to mean that we lose a bunch of air, you know, because the atmosphere here is, you know, 99% oxygen. It just means that slowly over time, the way we have it set up, that the oxygen content in the atmosphere is going to go down, right? Okay. So while these heaters do their thing, right? I think I'm gonna take it up to like 30, 31, and then turn them off, right? But if you're not gonna investigate how to automate your heating here, you know, then I highly suggest you kind of take note of like how long it takes to. What are we doing here? No, that's totally wrong. Take note of how long it takes the room to heat up to, let's say from whatever the temperature is, right? But let's say from 30 to 35, right? And just check back every once in a while to make sure that you're not forgetting that your plants will die if the temperature is too high, right? Okay. It's particularly an issue when you're out mining, because quite often when you go out for mining, you don't really know how long you're gonna be, right? If you're just like tweaking things around the base here, then you kind of know, right? You know that like, well, I'm here, so I can just kind of check the temperature, and when it's time, right? So yeah. Okay. Let's just build this down. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now what is happening here, right, is that the gas is going to come through here. Now this back pressure regulator is going to stop any gas that comes out of here from going into the base, right? The arrows also indicate the direction of travel of the gas that you are putting through it, right? Okay, so that corn didn't really feed us all that well. Later on, you can make like pies and your own cereal bars and all kinds of cool stuff. But we're not gonna get into that right now. So pretty much we're just eating like raw corn, right? Raw soy and raw potatoes, right? Which just doesn't sound really appetizing at all. But there we go. Okay, so I think we're kind of ready to. Oh, we just need our passive vent for our back pressure regulator there. Yeah. We also need to do something else, which I kind of forgot to do. Right. So we have here our waste canister, right? So we're just gonna put that in our hand, right? So well, yeah. We're gonna put that in our hand. It's gonna come up with a warning that we don't have a waste canister, right? We're gonna hit R. We're gonna open it. Because we're in a vacuum, it's gonna empty out the contents, right? Now we should be good to go. The contents really will be like a tiny bit of oxygen, a tiny bit of nitrogen, and mostly CO2, right? Because that's what you breathe. So yeah, the passive vent, and I think we're also going to build another tank connector. We'll leave that for the next episode now, I think. Right. So let's do our passive vent here. Print that out. And before we go inside, let's release the gases from this furnace here. Okay, so you'll see the pressure going down now. So all that gas is being fed into here, and I may actually, thinking about it, need to turn on that back pressure regulator. So let's quickly do that. Let's turn off our wall heaters because that temperature now is getting toasty warm. Let's put in our passive vent, right? And you'll see now, right, that these tanks now have a little bit of pressure. And this one is losing pressure because it is now outputting to this gas mixer, right? There's no real nitrogen, but some is flowing through, right? So it's going up and then it goes down. It will go down eventually. And the water, we haven't done any water yet. So let's very quickly just go and put all these ices into our furnace here. And I think we'll call that the end of the episode, right? So we're going to put in water, right? So it's processing the ice water there, which is amazing, right? And that's going to go all the way along there. It's going to go through the filtration system and into our water tanks, right? Out of power here, so let's so we may need a second battery here, right? That may be a thing. Second battery, and maybe even some more solar panels to charge what is happening, right? So okay, so we put in our water. We're going to put in our oxide. And because the temperature inside is above 0, it's going to melt straight away. Now, something very important to take note of here, right, is that if you put oxide in the quantities that we just put in into the furnace there, do not, under any circumstances, put it in after you have just put in volatiles, or put volatiles in immediately after you put in the oxide there, because the furnace may very well explode, right? Which is, all well and good for fun purposes, but for the purposes of not dying, what I'm going to have to do here is wait now for this pressure and temperature to reach absolute 0 before I put in these volatiles, just to make sure that nothing explodes, right? So very quickly, just go into our base here, and I really hope those plants are not dead. Let's cancel the pressurization there. Okay, no, they are fine, right? I mean, they say they're wilting, but they will. They will be okay eventually. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, let's have a look at our atmosphere composition. Okay, so we are going to need probably some CO2 in the atmosphere here, right? So yeah. Okay. All right, that's it, I guess, for this episode. Ran a little longer than I wanted it to, but instead. So if you like the video, you know, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, go right ahead, and that's much appreciated. And I guess I'll see you next time. So that's yeah, have a nice day, and that's Little T out.